Hey gang, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Moded Studios, embroidered patches and apparel. Go to modedstudios.com to find all the latest and greatest in patches and apparel. One of my favorite new ones that are up on the site is It Could Be Worse smiley face embroidered patch. Funny, cute, and it reflects the times. Like this one. It's the Thrasher, the skateboarding company. It's their logo, but it says herpes and wrap it up parody embroidered beanie. So there's not only patches, but there's beanies and there's t-shirts and all that jazz. They're constantly updating their website and they do custom work. Go to modedstudios.com, modedstudios.com. Get over there and be somebody. Now on with the show.
It's like those stories you hear when a lover's gone mad. I just gotta pull you close and choke you. Like chloroform, like chloroform. I wanna choke you like chloroform. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special to me, to me. We wake up without a love. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special to me, to me.
Sometimes I feel like a nigga just can't get his mind right. I mean, fell in love at the first sight of your ass, your eyes, my bad. All I wanted to do was boom boom, get a little mooshu, watch your poom poom, then zoom. But you got me, I'm a cocoon with your butterfly love when your flower bloom. No one chick should have all that power to make a man feel like he's devoured. Oh, sensitive thug, you might need a hug, yeah, I said it. But when she choke you and marry you at the same time, you won't regret it. Get it?
I wanna choke you like chloroform. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special to me, to me. We wake up without a love. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special to me, to me.
She giving me a moonshine stare. I hit her with a cocaine kiss. Put her hands on her chest like Pledge of Allegiance. Shit, she never had a drug like this. Love so strong, got it sitting in Debo's pigeon coop. Chase it with a little bit of lemon juice. You, me, and a bag of hot Cheetos in the living room without no couches. 'Cause we sit on cloud nine with unlimited ounces. Walk around town like the son of a politician. We can't be touched, we can't be us. In the conscious state, let's emancipate our minds like honest Abe. Be honest, babe, when I'm awake, you wanna put me to sleep and operate, yeah.
I wanna choke you like chloroform. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special to me, to me. We wake up without a love. 'Cause you're so special to me, so special
And that is the latest single from Reina Mystique called Chloroform. That is a collaboration between her and the Concrete Project. Now, if you didn't know, Reina Mystique is releasing a song a month. Reina is my wife, and so we collaborate together. And for the year of 2020, we're releasing a song a month. Even with a global pandemic going on, we're going to be creative as shit. So that was this month's release. For the month of March, that was Chloroform. So I hope you enjoyed that. ReinaMystique.com, ReinaMystique.com. Go and check out the latest from her. And I would say go click on the Experience tab to go and experience me and my lovely wife playing out live as an acoustic duo. But we lost our jobs due to the global pandemic. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you guys are holding up. Today's guest is Mr. Blaine Dillinger from Hirie. All right, I'm not going to do it. You know what? I was going to do that the whole time. Every time I said Blaine, I was going to go Blaine Dillinger because it's such a rock star name that not saying it like that, I feel like doesn't serve it to the greatest purpose that name holds. Blaine Dillinger of Hirie. That hurts my throat. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. It's like 7 in the morning. I'm in the laundry room because I'm trying not to yell and wake up my family. So I'm a little too jazzed for 7 in the morning in the laundry room. But Blaine is on the show today. He's a fantastic guitar player and a composer, and we're going to get to him really quickly. He also plays with Hirie. You guys might have heard of them. They're an amazing band out of San Diego. They're roots rock, reggae, pop. Their latest album, Dreamer, is pretty awesome. You should go check that out. We'll get to him in a second here. I'm going to speed through the next part so we can get to Blaine because I already know that this intro has drug on way too long. So you already know about ReinaMystique.com, but did you know you could write the show at wespeakenglishgood@gmail.com? Did you know that? Let us know what you're thinking and how we're doing. You can follow us on the interwebs at Instagram at wespeakenglishgood and on Facebook by the same moniker. In fact, I have my little routine here. What is it? Like, subscribe, review. So like us on Facebook, like us on Spotify, like us anywhere, follow us, subscribe. On YouTube. We're on YouTube. We have tutorials up there. All the tutorials that are on Instagram are now on YouTube, and you can go through there and just scrub through and not have to wait for YouTube to re-loop the video. So like, subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you're at, and then review. If you guys could be so kind to review the podcast, it helps us. If you get anything from this podcast, I don't ask any money from you guys except to go support modedstudios.com. And by the way, yes, we are actively looking for new advertisers, so expect more fucking ads. Yeah, if you didn't like our ads now, wait until there's more ads. Okay, you know, I realize when I listen back to my show that I laugh way too much at my own jokes, and it annoys me. So if it annoys you, let me know at wespeakenglishgood@gmail.com. Wow. Holy shit. Things are just... I've been in the house for a couple weeks now. Quarantine hasn't... I mean, like, I've been saying it to all these musicians I've been talking to. Quarantine isn't nothing new for us. For musicians, we quarantine ourselves all the fucking time so we could try to get work done or shed something out. Okay, listen. I'm not going to go into that. Maybe I'll say a few words on the other side. But let's just get to fucking Blaine, man. Blaine Dillinger of Hirie. Blaine Dillinger of Findlay, Ohio. He's an Ohio-grown boy. And we talk about acoustic hookah. So any of you guys any fans that I've gained, or listeners, I should say, that I gained over the acoustic hookah series that I did, you're going to like this. We talk about hookah. Blaine Blaine used to go to Hookahville and do that. So, anyways, let's get over it. Blaine Dillinger.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Hell yeah.
Love it, man. Thanks for the thank you for this image, actually, just because I'm in Toledo right now, and it's just like, it's nice, it's starting to get springy, but it's still like gray and kind of shitty. So it's like, it's nice to see a bit of sunshine on my end.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
I love that you kept the 419, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had that number since I was 18, I think, or 17 maybe.
That was your first like cell phone number?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think I had like one other number before, but then I like lost my phone or something like that, and ended up getting a new one on a different plan. But yeah, I pretty much had that number my entire life.
That's dope, man. Yeah, I've had the. Well, as soon as I moved out of the 419 and got into the 619, I was like, "Fuck that 619." Here I am, and you know what? I did the opposite. I kept the 619. I was like, "Fuck that." I'm keeping a piece of Cali with me.
Hell yeah.
Now, how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been super busy, but I've been really good, man.
Yeah, that's awesome though. That's great that you're busy. I mean, how bummed would you be if you were like just sitting around all bored?
I mean, that is the worst thing for a musician to be, is bored.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because if you're bored, that means you ain't got shit going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that rent's due, whether you got shit going on or not. So
that is true, man.
Either way. No, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a while. The last time you were on the show, which the first time was at One Love Reggae Fest, the first one. And that was when we did like a little guerrilla thing backstage, and while the drums were pounding on behind us. But
yeah, under the tent, on the little weird circular couch thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's been a while. So I appreciate you coming back on and chatting it up a bit. I was just talking to my wife, like, fuck, dude, I don't know how that dude handles constantly having to deal with so much anxiety. For me, I'm of course now I'm projecting myself onto you, because how I view things, I was like, I don't know how that dude handles all this anxiety, because like the shit that I'm doing right now is causing so much anxiety in me, just because of things are getting bigger. You know what I mean? Things are growing, and sometimes you can be afraid of that. And so it's so I was like, well, I should just ask him. Like, do you feel like because you guys are obviously growing, you guys are moving into newer markets all the time, and I mean, how do you handle that kind of growth pressure, that pressure of growth, and I don't know. I mean, do you even think about it? Do you even have anxiety about it? I mean, where are you at?
That's a great question, man. Honestly, that is probably the greatest intro question to an interview I've ever been asked.
Well, I just was talking to my wife. I'm sorry. I just got, because I was talking to her, because like I was just telling her, I was like, dude, I've been just so anxious lately, because it's like, if it's not like me trying to do improv or doing whatever the various shit that I'm involved with, it's just like, it's constantly, I have this feeling of anxiety, and I'm an anxious person, and I'm just wondering, is like, why do so many people who have like anxious feelings, or who are very anxious, feel like they have to get on stage or get all this attention, like they feel like they need all this attention, even though they're anxious as fuck, and maybe sometimes just want to hide in a hole, but yet they'll go on stage and play for thousands of people. It's like, why punish ourselves? But back to the original question, how do you handle it? Or is it even a problem for you?
No, it's a problem. Honestly, I am insanely anxious. I'm insanely like overwhelmed all the time. I'm a very, very introverted person by nature, and it's kind of like in the Avengers at the end, when they're like, oh, what's your secret? And they're talking to like Bruce Banner about turning into the Hulk, and he's like, oh, I'm always angry. It's like, I'm always anxious. I'm always feeling that way, and in myself, it's super weird because like the performance, I'll get on stage and I'll play. I think our largest audience was something like 36,000 people or something like
Jesus
that.
Christ. That
Which
gives me
is
anxiety just sitting here thinking of that.
such a blessing. But like, I can do that with no issues. But get me in a group of like 6 people and then try to carry on a conversation. I get so anxious, and I'm so anxious meeting people and talking to people. I'm not very good with that, with approaching people, bothering people. And generally, unless they're like a personal hero of mine, the celebrity status doesn't matter as much to me. It's just the act of like trying to figure out how to connect with another human being is super weird for me. On a level of, that I always feel like I'm going to come across as an idiot or as something else that doesn't properly represent me as a person. Obviously, you can never represent you as a person in like the minute or two that you spend with most people, but
Yeah, that's the
for
problem
me,
with first impressions is that you only get one, right?
exactly. So that really bothers me. So myself, I've kind of made it a thing to be super awkward, like kind of made it my thing, like on my social media presence and things like that. Like I've kind of put myself out in such a way so that people hopefully expect me to be a little awkward and weird.
So when they meet you, they're not disappointed. It's like, look, right
Exactly.
here I am, okay? This is me.
So honestly, I think this interaction might be too much because I got the sunglasses on and I got the nice setting behind me, and I might look cool, which might ruin the whole thing because people will see me and be like, "That dude's cool," and then I'll be super awkward and they'll be like, "Well, that was weird."
I absolutely no, and you. That's what I was saying. Is like you run into this all the time. Is like you have, artists. I talk to a lot of artists. But a lot of them, a lot of artists are just like full of anxiety and like they're full of dread and like every like text message that they send out, especially pertaining to their career, is like some kind of awful mess where their palms are sweat. But it's like, yet we put ourselves in this punishment. And like, I don't know why. Like, why do we do that to ourselves? Why do you feel like you have to do that to yourself? I mean, well,
Yeah.
I guess, and here's the other thing you just got done to say it is that you're very comfortable in front of 36,000 people. But once it's, it's so like, but the build up to that, I'm sure, kind of
The
induces some
build up
kind
is
of
so tough.
yeah.
The preparation, the travel,
Right.
the other personalities of trying to craft something together with the idea of having no idea what's going on half the time because you don't necessarily know when you're gonna shower, when you're gonna eat, when you're gonna have time to relax and enjoy, when you know what I mean. You have
Yes.
all these things. When's load in? When's sound check? When's all this stuff happening? And it can be super intense. I just honestly, I got super anxious this morning. This is great.
Me
That you
too.
asked, because I opened up my schedule and I just started looking because our schedule has been pretty lax these past couple months, and the way the schedule was looking, it was just going to be a whole bunch of festivals. And then I opened up my schedule this morning and I found like 3 tours that are going to be happening this year that are insanely taxing. Let's use that word. Not taxing as in like, oh, tours. I mean, I love touring and that's what I enjoy, but just the routing of the thing, and like how many hours we're going to be stuck literally on the road from location to location, and how many shows are getting packed into a week. Like I think we've had on this, when I was looking, like some of the weeks were like 6, 7, 8 days in a row, and with insanely long drives between the cities and things like that, like really make me anxious as to like basically I internalize everything. So like, am I going to be able to perform at the best of my ability? One of the things that really bothers me, that may not bother a lot of other people, is I want to give every person my best every time, which is, theoretically impossible, but that's what I strive for. Like, I don't want to give, like, I don't know, Boise the most incredible show of my life and then get to Oklahoma and just give them a shit show because I was too high here, but then and then I didn't take care of myself, or the drive was too long, or I made a bad decision, or whatever, you know what I mean? And then give these people less than what they deserve for buying a ticket there. Like, they're the reason that I do what I do, because they connect with the art that I'm making and that the rest of the people are making along with me. And if I always feel an obligation to those people, every person who enjoys what I do, to give them my best. And when I get it in my head, like, oh man, this is going to be hard, and then it just kind of like fills me with anxiety. So it's like this balance, because if I get too anxious, then like I'm doing the same thing. Like I may not be able to perform my best because I'm too anxious. So it's like this weird spiral of anxiety that's always circling. And so there's like, I'm always on a mission to kind of combat that. Like, whether it be like, I enjoy a lot of CBD products because they help even me out when I get overly anxious. I try to work out consistently. That seems to help with the anxiety. I try to get enough sleep, and try not to indulge too much in various things, because I don't want to go overboard and not be able to be my best, or I don't want to be anxious the next day because I felt like I didn't get enough sleep, or I felt like I'm hurting the next day. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm always trying to do, but that anxiety is just always creeping up in some form or another. And it's rough, but in the end, I think it's worth it. Like, totally worth it to be able to like do what I do and share what I do, and people have a connection to that, whether it be me directly or me as a part of the bigger unit. When I'm touring, obviously it's always with Hirie. But like, I want them to be able to have that experience and that connection to myself and the band and her at large,
It's fucking exhausting to manage this, because I'm listening to your list of stuff to do, and it makes me, I'm relating exactly to you. Like, I'm like, it's like you're constantly juggling all these things that are in play so you can perform at your best, right? Like, it's all in service of the music and you just trying to live as a human being, like, generally. but you're in service of your work a lot of the time, and so trying to keep everything balanced it's fucking exhausting, man, because it's like you said, you're working out, you're not trying to indulge, you're trying to get sleep, which trying to get sleep on tour can be very challenging. It's fucking, so it's like all those things factor into this overall wellness, this self-aware wellness that you're constantly maintaining, and it's exhausting. And then throw on top of these performances, because you don't just stand there and play your guitar, you are fucking
No.
in it. So like, but you have to be active on stage, and yeah, it's crazy. So what are some of the what are some of the things that you specifically do to sort of balance out, like when you're on the road, what are some of the things you specifically do to sort of balance so you're not going too high on, in Boise, and then once you get to Oklahoma City, you're gassed out?
Yeah. The biggest kind of three things for me are sleep and diet and exercise. Those are kind of the big three for me. I'm lucky that like a lot of the people in our crew are big into exercise, and a lot of them have pretty good management of time. So most cities we're fortunate enough to be like traveling around in an actual bus with a driver now.
Mm-hmm.
It was much harder when you're in a van and you're all switching off, right?
Right.
So my morning generally consists of getting with the driver and the tour manager and finding out what the hotel situation is and what the gym situation in the hotel is, and then we have a pretty big crew that rolls 4, 5, 6 deep sometimes, and we all go and hit the gym in the morning before sound check.
Hell yeah.
And then the ones who don't do that because they have a different sleep schedule, they're generally pretty good about getting in the gym after sound check. So everyone is pretty focused on their health on the road, and that's kind of like one of the very cool things of touring with the people that I tour with, is because they all have a similar mindset, and it's very easy if you're touring with people who are just all about the party or all about the skin of their teeth lifestyle to get sucked right into that. I've toured with groups like that, and a lot of them end up imploding, whereas this group of people is really focused on bettering themselves and bettering their craft. So getting that sleep at night, hitting the gym, and then just shedding on my instrument as much as possible. I bought a little mobile recording rig so I could plug into my phone with my headphones and one of my guitars and just sit on the bus or anywhere really, and just practice without bothering anybody and without being bothered by anybody, and just being able to shed all the things I need to shed. That's the other thing I didn't mention. I try to practice as much as possible because I want to feel as comfortable as possible. Mm-hmm. I don't like having to think about stuff.
And that just adds to your overall anxiety anyways.
Exactly. I want to be able to just go on stage and play. So the more I practice and the more I prep, the more I can do that and get in that headspace, because I've already ran everything that I'm uncomfortable with to the point where it's comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's great advice for anybody. Like just in general as a musician, like showing up, knowing your shit is gonna alleviate like so much of that pre-show jitter. Because I mean, I know that sometimes pre-show jitters is just that's how it is. But if you know your shit and you know it like backwards and forwards and upside down, then you're gonna that you're gonna be able to go and play the shit. It's just, you gotta get past that other bullshit before you can get there. But your confidence comes in that you know what you're doing. And that's like, that's some like the thing that I been noticing as well, is like the difference between confidence in competence and just confidence, just no real base or reason for it. Because some people walk around with this confident, walking around, but they have no real reason to be confident. What have they accomplished? Like maybe they're just these entitled people who had it easy their whole life. I'm not trying to shit on anybody right now, but what I'm saying is that when it comes to confidence can be faked, but competence is something that you can't. And confident people who aren't competent as well fall apart really easily once pressure is put on you. But if you're competent and you know what you're talking about, you're going to be able to handle that whatever's coming at you with some grace, at least, hopefully. I know there's more factors involved with that. But anyways, you guys have been doing these. Well, I've been listening to your guys' music, to Hirie's music, I should say, the band, and I noticed that from Wandering Soul to Dreamer, there was this big leap, and there's it almost feels a little bit crossover type of album. I don't know, like when you guys are going into albums, how focused, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. When you were going in to record for Dreamer, was there a conscious decision to start writing more? I say crossover. I'm not trying to shit on you guys at all. I'm just saying, like, there's some non-reggae sounding songs on there.
I don't view that as
Well, I just wasn't trying to pull away from what you guys do. I just saying that this is what I noticed, is that you guys sort of are starting to go in a more of a poppier direction with Dreamer. How much of that was a conscious thing, or how much of that was just like, these are the songs we wrote, this is just what we came up with, and we really liked it?
Heck yeah. I mean, that I think has the most to do with it. Mm-hmm. I feel that, as people move through life, they get different influences, they listen to different stuff, they want to try new things. And I don't want to put words in anyone else's mouth, but our singer, Trish Hirie, she does almost all of the writing.
Oh, wow.
As far as the songs. So now we'll come up with stuff together from time to time, or somebody will write music and then she'll write to that. She does a lot of collaboration writing with Chris, the sax player. He's freaking amazing as well. And so by the time the songs get to me, for instance, a lot of them are fleshed out. They have direction, they have ideas, they have things recorded on them already. So kind of my thing is to kind of listen to something where it stands and see how I can make it better, make it more complete, you know what I mean? And make it as as original as possible, while also trying to make the song as good as possible. So when I'm on those tracks, I'm trying to play what makes the song better as the song, rather than just playing stuff because of A, it's complicated and crazy and look what I can do, and B, I know I'm going 1-2. I'm saying A, B.
That's okay. They can't see you.
Right there.
The people listening can't see you. That's all good.
Perfect. And be like not trying to be so steeped in tradition, that obviously respecting tradition and playing appropriate things when they make the song better, but not being afraid to play out of that tradition if something else will help elevate a section of a song or push something out. And so that's kind of my role in the creative process, is a lot of like, what can I add to make something that she has written that's already awesome better? Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it's, as far as the direction of the songwriting and influences, it's those songs and lyrics are very, very special and within her. And that's what I really like about it, especially as the albums progress. She's getting more and more in touch with what makes her as a human. And the songs are more universal to the struggles of her peers, because they're universal to the struggle of herself.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely noticed that she's getting more vulnerable, and like I noticed, like maybe it was a couple months ago. I don't know, time just blurs, but I noticed that she wrote like this big long, I think it was an Instagram post about her own. I think she was talking about her bipolar, or she has some kind of, she has her own sort of mental disorders, and I thought that was so brave. I don't know why I'm weird about saying the word brave, but it was weird to say that. But I find it kind of brave because it's like like how you were saying, it's like when you go to a Hirie show, you see Blaine with his mohawk out jumping around, you see Trish jumping around, sweating, everybody's having this great time, and you just think they're the coolest people, and like they're just having it all together. But like it's great that she humanizes herself, so people aren't sitting there and thinking that, you know, look at this girl, she's got it all together, and you know, she's just trying to figure shit out too. And I thought that was a really great thing for her to do. For the fans and you know, even for herself, just to let that out, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's beautiful. It's great, and thank you for even sharing your story, because this is not easy. I know it's not easy to sit here and let's talk about how anxious I am all the time, but I do think it's healing. You know what I mean? It is healing to talk about it.
Oh, it totally is, and that's kind of the beauty of a Hirie show, a live show especially, is that like it's almost a celebration of your uniqueness and a celebration of your insecurities.
Yeah.
Because so many people like are either trying to escape them or pretend that they don't exist, and B, they feel like they're pigeonholed into who they are by their body type, their gender, the color of their skin, their you know, their wealth and status of their family, things like that. Like, and with Hirie, one of the things I should say, not the thing, but one of the things that I really admire about her and her ideas is the ability to incorporate people from such diverse backgrounds, personally and musically, to encompass a sound that I hope will be, you know, larger than the small niche that we're supposed to occupy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you've looked at me, obviously I'm not the first thing you would think of when you think of reggae music.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm basically grew up in the middle of a cornfield in freaking Ohio, and my family are, you know, salt of the earth Mennonite descendants. So, right?
What part of
So
Ohio again? I'm sorry to interrupt. What part of Ohio?
Oh, no, I grew up 45 minutes south of you in Findlay.
Oh, Finley. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right off the 75 there.
Right there.
Surrounded by cornfields, right?
Yeah, I worked at Marathon Theater. I think that's where the theater is. Anyways, I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Oh, it's all good, man.
You were on a roll and I was just like, blah. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's totally cool. So, like, my background is not necessarily one that you would associate with the style of music that I'm fortunate enough to play and blessed to be learning about every day, actually. And like a lot of the guys in the band are, you know, so we have a few that are Mexican, and we have a few that are from Guam, and we have like this whole, and Trish herself is kind of from everywhere, this crazy blend of ethnicities and statuses. And so we have these people who like normally wouldn't come together to express a unified statement, but we get to share that same statement from our own personal backgrounds and influences. And I love that about the band, where it's not all, and there's nothing wrong with everyone being close and everyone being similar, but it's nice to be able to express ideas with people who have radically different ideas, because then the music that comes out of it is super cool and such a unique blend because of that. So like Trish never listened to terrestrial radio or rock music,
Really?
and has very limited knowledge of rock music.
Right.
Whereas that's all I heard growing up, like it or not.
Midwest, man.
Is classic rock and metal
Right.
and much harder forms of music. So being able to come up with ideas for parts for her, and with her is super cool, because she'll like equate something that I play to something I've never heard before. So then I'll get to go listen to that and then expand my horizons, or I'll send her something that like is an idea of where I got whatever I was playing to her, so that she can kind of get that same like, oh, I've never heard this before. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the rest of the guys. Just having that blend of ideas and styles is super amazing. And hopefully as the band continues to grow and meld, that it blends together even more cohesively and crosses over into even more diverse listening palettes, while still being able to maintain that foundation of great reggae music that kind of brought us all together in the first place.
Yeah, man.
Woo! I don't know. Did that make any sense?
It did very much so. I appreciate that, man, because no, you're right. You guys do have this like this beautifully diverse sound, and I mean, like, I love that she touches on that Polynesian side of her. You know, there's songs where it's just like her and her uke, and you could hear the melodies she chooses. You can hear that that's very like island sound. But then, you know, like, you'll have different breaks where it'll be heavy, or it'll be almost like a like, I think the last time I saw you guys live, you had a complete dubstep fucking breakdown, which was like, I was like, fuck yeah, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's beautiful, man, because it served the music I mean, obviously it's working, so it's like it served the music well. And yeah, man, that's a great aspect, because you get a bunch of similar minded people together, and you know, that can create great things too. But like, once you have this diversity of thinking and you guys can make it work without, you know, choking each other out or whatever, fucking like, that's, I mean, that's magic, baby. It's magic. I was just curious about you know, a little bit about your upbringing. Did you do you have music in your family? Is there a lineage of music in your family?
Not a whole lot, no.
The Lone
My
Wolf.
grandfather on my mom's side used to sing like the crooner jazz type of tunes and played some drums. You know, like the Sinatra and kind of that style of music. And he'd play like small gigs around periodically while he was younger. And then I never met my other grandfather, but I heard he was one of those sit down on the porch and play his harmonica type of guys. But other than that, like, there's not a whole lot of music or musicians in my family necessarily. Coming from that Mennonite background, I have a whole lot of truck drivers and ministers and like mechanics,
Yeah.
in my family. So they're artistic in the way that they'll create and relate to people on different levels, but it's more their art forms are more practical.
Yeah.
In mine, whereas mine is more, I guess, abstract and emotional.
Mm. Yeah, totally. No, I love the way that you frame that, like, just blue collar workers as like artists in their own right, because they just choose it's just how they chose to express themselves like that, you know, like that's just their choice. They want, or they hate it. I don't know. Who knows? But I don't know. I know people who are successful musicians who don't like it, you know? So, I mean, like, who knows, you know, like, who knows what works for whoever. No, that was a very nice way of painting blue collar background, which I have the same. It's the same thing. I don't really have music. I do have music on my dad's side of the family. Well, actually, never mind. My family's full of artists. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's talk about you, Blaine. So then, how did you come onto the guitar then? Like, how did that get introduced, or how did you go get it?
My grandmother gave me a garage sale beater guitar one day when I was 10 years old. I think it was like around Christmas time. And I just played the crap out of that thing without having no idea how to play, and I'm sure it sounded awful. The reason I know it sounded awful was my dad said, if you keep playing on this thing for the next few months, I'm going to buy you a guitar that sounds good, and then I'm going to get you some lessons. So his mode of thinking was, man, this sounds awful, but instead of like telling him to not do it, I'm going to see if he's got a passion for it, and I'm going to encourage that passion, and at the same time edify my own ears and sanity. So he doesn't sound so bad. It was really bad for a while because like I had siblings in the house and stuff like that, and I was so bad that like I would just hide in the closet and practice so that they wouldn't tell me to shut up.
That's how I feel now. By the way, I just want you to know that that's how I feel now. But please, so it's funny because you were saying that you don't know if you were playing it right or not. You were just playing the shit out of it. It's like for the first year I had my guitar, I was tuning it wrong. Like, I was just tuning it wrong and fuck it. So like for the first year, it doesn't even count. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know how I was making it sound like. I don't know how I had the motivation with well, you know how like incremental achievements on the instrument will kind of be your motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand at that age with my attention span how I managed to stick to it, because there couldn't have been any kind of incremental anything. Like what the fuck? It was out of tune. So anyways, you know, we all have to learn. We all begin, you know, we all start somewhere. So you took guitar, you took some lessons, and you were when did you start like really getting into it and really start like trying to pursue music as a you know, as an artist?
I mean, I think I tried to start my first band when I was like 14 or so. And then it was like your normal like kids at school, like, hey, let's start a band. Okay, you're the singer, you're the drummer, you're the bass player. And then I remember the very first band I tried to form, we were gonna go for a talent show, and we never even got together. And we just talked about it, and then nothing ever happened.
So wait, you didn't do the talent show?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then periodically, like, we would, I think that was in middle school, and then periodically I'd find people to jam with, and then it would incrementally get further and further and further along.
Yeah. And this is out of Findlay that you're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, it's super interesting because there's such a small pool of just people in general.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. That's what I was kind of
Yeah. So like you kind of, you know, do the best with what you can, and like my mentality at the time, I don't even know what my mentality at the time was.
Right.
It was pretty ridiculous. But then I'd like gotten myself locally into a bunch of bands, like probably 6 or so at the same time. Having like a main like creative outlet, but then just playing with anybody in any style. Like I think for a while I was playing bass in like a classic / hard rock cover band, and at the same time I was playing in some experimental scream atmospheric metal band, and then I was playing in like a funk rock band, and I was playing in like some like alt country type band, and I'd just be playing like anything just to play because the pool, a lot of cover bands too,
Yeah,
a lot of cover bands. Just because the pool, I remember I used to be in a backing band, like a house band at a bar that would just play a bunch of covers. And the guy who owned the bar's dad was the mayor. So I just backed the mayor on random happy hour sets. And we'd play Brown Eyed Girl a lot. Yeah. So, like, just a whole lot of that. But I was like super, I don't know, super not taking it serious in the fact of like bettering myself. I feel like maybe I was just trying to obtain like more status in my home little town because I had never really left. I'd never gone anywhere. I mean, I'd taken vacations and things like that with family when I was younger, but I had never like really pushed myself out of my comfort zone until I was like in my early 20s, and I was like, I'm gonna go to school for music. I'm gonna quit dicking around. I'm gonna refocus and into actual discipline practice. I'm going to do these things that I've talked about doing, getting high with my friends now for years. I'm actually going to do it. So I enrolled in OSU, and I went to their jazz studies program, and I ended up getting a degree in jazz guitar performance.
Oh, Jesus. So you're a Buckeye.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am. And then after that, I decided like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to move out west because that's the
That's
best
where it's going
chance I
on,
got.
Baby. That's where it's happening.
So like I went to San Francisco, and then I ended up joining Hirie, which led me down to San Diego.
Well, if we could just back up a little bit, when you were in high school and middle school and stuff, was when did like your social awkwardness and anxiety start peering out? Because I know that's kind of when it did for me when I started turning teenager and stuff, and I started getting a little more introverted.
Yeah. And
Were you dealing with that in high school as well?
I was because I was never like a popular kid, but I never like didn't get along with people, but I wasn't like crewed up or anything like that, or part of a group. But I mean, I was in the orchestra and the band and stuff like that, so like I was considered, I guess, pretty nerdy. But then I started dealing with that in the wrong ways. Like now I'm dealing with it in healthy, positive ways. But before I was dealing with it with escapism, basically, into this, like, I don't know, a lot of drugs.
Yeah, no, me too, man. It was the same story. You know, it's interesting that like I see all these commonalities when people are saying like their high school experiences, like, like I wasn't popular, but I wasn't like unpopular. Like I could kind of move within cliques, you could kind of move around within people. Like you knew most everybody and, but kind of kept yourself, but still had people and,
Yeah. And I was like, I'm sure people tolerated me.
Yeah.
And probably because I could get them weed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, hey,
one
man.
of those kids. Like,
oh, okay. No. I had those kids. Those kids, the kids in high school who was the kids who could get weed, so they were cool because they could get weed. Both of them are dead now. So, which is a really weird, shocking thing to internalize. But I'm just curious, like, because this anxiety seems to hit people when they're young, especially me. But like I remember being able to recognize it at a young age and sort of understand where it kind of came from and kind of started working towards trying not to be that. And like some examples would be like not speaking up for yourself, or like you had a question but you were too kind of scared to ask it. So as a young kid, I remember actively trying to work against those urges, those anxious urges, and go against it, and kind of like I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm connecting it, maybe I'm reaching too far here, but it kind of feels like anxiety hit me at a young age, so I could sort of work on it from a young age and better myself. And like, because I've been constantly, even from a young age, feeling like I'm doing, and even if I'm not conscious of it, I just feel like I'm constantly trying to better myself, even if it's small changes. But I recognize, I don't know, maybe that's sort of a device that serves artists to sort of better themselves for, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Were
But
you
yeah,
able to recognize it as a young age and kind of like internalize
no,
it? Oh.
not until, like I said, until my early mid 20s, like 22, 23, when I had already kind of spiraled to the point where like I didn't like myself, to the point where like I was definitely seeing blatant signs of like, hey man, if you want to do anything with your life, you need to do it now.
Yeah.
You need to deal with stuff rather than run from stuff. So like when I was younger and I was like super awkward, I would either A, be super quiet, or B, just crack jokes. And then as I got older, I would just try to escape into whatever. And honestly, that's probably one of the reasons that I played guitar so much early on, is because I could play it alone and not worry about girls or friends or status. Because in a small town, it's easy to get locked into, this is all there is.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely how I felt looking back at it, but not realizing it. So I would just hide away with my guitar from an early age, to at least I felt good. I was able to like start playing some songs and get out a lot of my angst and aggression and shitty feelings, and like I could run away to my guitar.
Right.
Whereas I couldn't necessarily run away in other aspects, except for like keep my head down, don't talk, just crack a joke every once in a while.
So the anxiety served as a device to get better and put it into positive ways.
Yeah, indirectly, yeah, for reals. It was more of a, I was lucky to have that, honestly, because if I didn't have that, my whole life would be different. But B, I don't know that I would have learned those lessons in the right way. I think I would have been much farther behind in my social development than I am now. I might still be in that town working at the same factory that everyone else works at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I do.
And that would have probably slowly killed me inside. Not to say that there's anything wrong with doing that. The world needs people to do that, but that wasn't for me.
Right.
And kind of the guitar saved me in that way. And again, when I was in my early mid 20s, the guitar saved me again, because it was like the one positive thing. I was like, because I had been going on and off for school. Like it took me 9 years to get my damn bachelor's degree, but
I was
going on and off for like community college and stuff. But then like I realized that I had like one real shot, at least motivator, not necessarily shot, because I'm sure I could do other stuff, maybe, but but I had one chance, and it's not like I was particularly good at the guitar. That was the one thing I was willing to work harder than anything else. So everything that I can play, everything that I can do, everything that I've accomplished on the guitar is not because I have any talent more than anybody else. It's because I work harder than most people, and I dedicate the time, and I make myself disciplined to do that. I'm learning stuff now that like, that I'm still like disciplined and working on bettering my craft and taking in new techniques. And there's a lot of people who have natural talent where they can just pick something up, and I'm insanely jealous of those people. It seems like they can just pick up and figure stuff out, and like can kind of coast by on something. They may not be the greatest, and some of them actually probably are, but they they just have it, and whether they choose to develop it and put that discipline in, or just coast on their natural abilities is up to them. But for me, I know I didn't have any natural abilities. I had to work hard on timing. I had to work hard on rhythm. I had to work on pitch, like, whereas other people could just get it and do it. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't have that, because maybe I would have coasted, and maybe I would have stayed in that small town and wasted those talents.
Yeah.
Where now I'm feeling like, I've been able to do something with that. And the cool thing is, like, now that I teach a lot of music, I'm able to work with kids that other musicians either can't work with or don't work with. I'm able to, like, I've had students who have autism or other forms of learning disabilities. I've had students who have no musical talent whatsoever. I've had students who are in their 60s finally picking up a guitar because they want to learn how to play a Bob Seger song by the campfire on their vacation. Like, these are people that are just want to improve themselves in some way, to learn a new skill, to enjoy this whole musical experience that we get to enjoy kind of on the daily. And I feel like a lot of times those people get shut out a little bit from the larger community, because they take a month to learn an E minor chord rather than like picking it up and doing it in the first lesson. And there's a lot of teachers and stuff that get frustrated with their students and drop their students and like won't work with those people. I was very lucky to have teachers who were able to work with me at my varying skill levels as I progressed, and like who didn't do that. So I'm grateful now because I have this opportunity to be giving back to other people who are in the same predicament that I was, because I literally went through every step. I struggled to make this chord, and I found a way to make it work. And here's a tip that worked for me. You know what I mean? And now I'm rambling again for like the third time.
Oh,
I feel
bro,
like...
please. No. You know what? It's interesting because rambling, there's a difference between rambling in person with somebody you're just having a conversation with, and there's a difference between rambling on a podcast. Rambling on a podcast is great because, first of all, let me just take rambling out of the equation. You were not rambling, because rambling is sort of going around in circles with no point. You definitely had a point there at the end of your sentence. So please don't feel bad about going on. I love it when the guest talks, because sometimes on this show, like, I'm just sitting here, it's like pulling teeth. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, dude. Okay, I'm going to ask you every single question, I guess, like, instead of sort of, we're having a nice little jaunty back and forth, which I very much appreciate, because it's, like I said, it can be like pulling teeth. So you're doing great, man. You're doing you're doing solid. You're one of the only other people I can actually talk to about this particular subject we're moving on to, is acoustic hookah. And
hookah, bro.
Hookahville, baby. No, being back in Ohio, it's been crazy, just, getting reacquainted with the scene around here. And right now the scene in the jam scene is kind of heating up again. Back when we were a part of it, it was pretty hot. And then we left, and then it kind of died down. And so did hookah. And you came into hookah. When did you come into hookah? And I'm sorry that we just turned this into a hookah podcast, but
it's all good. So that was kind of a great moment for me. So when I was in high school, I started getting turned onto like Fish and the Dead and a lot of these jam bands. And then from that, I kind of started hearing about acoustic hookah in probably late high school. And then started going out to their shows and realizing that they were a great inspiration, honestly, because they were that cross section of bands where they had like a national status, but they were still local and they were still obtainable as far as what they were doing. They weren't so far off the charts like the Grateful Dead or Fish or, you know, a lot of those bigger jam bands that where it's like, oh man, I could work my whole life and never get to that point. You know what I mean? They were like a band that made really cool music and really original music that connected with enough people that they were able to get on that national circuit. And that was kind of like a inspiration and a model for me. Like, if I just make good music and connect with the right people and put it out there, like I could obtain something like this. I could throw a festival.
Mhm.
I could go on a tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was really cool, and the music was super fun and super enjoyable, and the shows felt like they were packed out, but they weren't like these huge like arenas or anything like that, because, you know, where you just feel like a number. You
It's
felt
very
like a
intimate.
person. You felt like part of a community.
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, a lot of that like is what I'm feeling now with Hirie.
Oh,
So
for
it's kind of
sure.
cool.
Hell
where
yeah.
like I'm actually able to obtain this level of touring and playing and connection with a group of like-minded people, a fan base, if you will, in the same way that I connected with Acoustic Hookah way back in the day, which was super cool.
Well, one of the reasons I brought that up is because there's a connection with us, which I talk about all the time whenever I see you in person. But like the Schwilly family, I think that's what they went by, right?
Yeah.
So the Schwilly family, those characters, that cast of characters and stuff. But I also brought it up because I got a chance to talk to Ed and I got a chance to talk to Dave Katz. And yeah, dude, and it was it was so much fun, and they were so giving with their time, and to speak, because that was one of the points. It was like to speak on that local, like they have this accessibility that they never left. You know what I mean? Like they've had this accessibility, and you know, Dave invited me into his home. Like, and he gave me 3 hours of just like unadulterated fucking hookah talk. And I'm sitting here telling him about how I fucking used to sneak into his festival and shit, like a fucking, like a little ingrate. But yeah, man, like it's just one of those things that I knew that we could kind of connect on, because there's just that little piece, that piece of history, of personal history there. I mean, because it was the same for me too. They were like that. They were like that big time small home band that you just like felt like, you know, like you knew them by name, right? It's like, it's Ed, it's Steve, it's fucking, you know, it's fucking Eric, whatever. So it was like it's a very community type thing that I just had a blast sort of getting to know those guys and shit. So it was just a fun little thing I wanted to bring up.
That's awesome, man. Heck yeah.
So you're working on a solo project, is that correct?
Yes, I'm always working on a solo project. I decided long ago that if I was going to make music with other people, or make music that's accessible to a large audience, that I was going to do my best to take what I had and make whatever it is better. I think I was talking about that a little bit when we were talking about the recording process of Hirie, and like, how can I make the song better? And it's always a struggle. Like, how can I put my ego aside to play only what is needed,
right,
without like convoluting the tune or distracting from the tune, but still being able to be me on the tune. You know what I mean? Right. So I decided a long time ago that that's how I was going to approach playing with other people and making music that's commercially viable or acceptable. How can I connect with the most amount of people, but still be interesting enough not to lose people who might be a little more invested in music as an art form. But with my solo projects, how can I get the weird shit in my head out of my head?
Get out of there.
Yeah. So when I'm approaching solo projects, I'm almost always, let me rephrase that. I'm almost never thinking about what's commercially viable and what is going to sell well, or what is going to sound the best necessarily. And when I say the best, I mean the most cohesive or normal. So I try to write stuff that stretches my abilities and skills as a musician, and I try to write stuff that piques my own interest, and I try to write stuff that I find exciting and get to scratch those itches. Obviously, we grew up listening to jam bands a lot. So how can I bring those influences in? How
But
can I
then
bring
also metal, right? Like we also
yeah,
grew up
how can I
listening to
bring that
fucking
prog
Metallica
and
and
metal
Pantera
influence
and
in?
all
Yeah.
that shit.
How can I do whatever the fuck that I want to do
Right.
in my head and
Right.
get that out? So that's kind of my overall goal when I'm writing stuff. So when in 2013, I was had just a few years out of OSU and the jazz tradition. So I was like, well, how can I take this weird jazz stuff that I learned and this very steeped tradition and just ruin it? So I put out like an EP of like random songs which had a very strong jazz influence and a very strong like funk influence, and like was just me like just writing stuff off the cuff and enjoying the fact that I could make music for myself. And then flash forward a few years, I started writing a bunch of songs, now being more in the reggae genre and experiencing more and more amazing reggae. I was writing stuff in the terms of like, how can I take this and blend it with my other influences without caring what it necessarily, you know what I mean? Without worrying about like staying within the tradition, or without worrying about what other people are going to think. And so like I started writing these songs, probably the ones that I'm working on now, I think maybe 3 years ago or longer for some of them. I used to write them like on the planes to different festivals on my little garage band on my phone, or I'd write them like on the road and just make little demos out of them and stuff like that. And then I'd get to a point and then I'd end up working on another record, or like doing a bunch of solo work or touring, and then put the stuff away and then dig it back out. And I finally got the motivation to actually start releasing some of this stuff. So I'm in the process of releasing 3 singles right now. I'm not sure if they're going to be under the moniker of we got a train going by.
That's all right.
I'm not sure if they're going to be under the moniker of Dillinger's Hired Guns, or which is kind of the catch-all name that I have for my projects, or just under Blaine Dillinger or Dillinger Music, which is kind of what I've been branding myself as lately. But it's going to be just a series of 3 songs which have some reggae influence, but I wouldn't necessarily call them reggae songs. They're just going to be sonic interpretations of thoughts in my head, and they're going to be instrumental. And
I think that's the name of the album too. I think you just named it Sonic Interpretations of the Stuff in My Head.
There it is. Heck yeah. And a couple of the motivating factors for releasing it now rather than releasing it back then is like, one, I've been a huge fan of wildlife in general, and a huge fan of like where we live and the amazingness of what's real. So back in the day, I used to be like enamored in like fantasy and idealism and things like that. And like, how can I make this night the most epic night of my life? Or how can I, whatever. Nowadays, I'm more like, oh man, look at all this amazing stuff right around me. Look at all this like crazy biology going on in action. Look at this thing that I walk past every day. Did you know that it does this and it has these basically superpowers? And like, you know what I mean? Like this planet that we live on is amazing, right? And just knowing about it makes the world more exciting to me. So I want to do my part to help conserve that. So I'm going to be donating um, a percentage of this music that I release to the World Wildlife Fund.
Hell yeah.
Which will be super cool. And kind of in that vein of like the amazing mixed with the fantasy, and this whole idea that like living things have kind of their own innate superpowers. Like, you know, like spider silk is one of the strongest substances on earth, and they made a whole comic book about a person with that
Right.
superpower, right?
Yeah.
That this creature already has. And you know what I mean? So like the first single that I'm working on releasing is going to be called Witch Duck. And the second single I'm going to be releasing is going to be called Ninjelephant. And then the final single that I'm going to be releasing out of the group of 3 is going to be called Jellyfish of Love.
Oh shit! Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So they
Hell
all
yeah.
have this kind of underlying theme. And then once I kind of got the theme, I kind of got the ball rolling in my mind, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to finish it. And even then, it's been over a year since I got that theme rolling, because I ended up doing a whole lot of writing for a record that's about to come out, and then I did a bunch of guest appearances and collabs that are going to come out soon. But then when I got back into the studio, I was like, I'm going to make this happen. So I started a Patreon account. I'm not sure if you have one or not, but basically it's a way for fans to like directly connect with artists and to directly help fund the art projects that they're doing. So I figured, like, out of, you know, all of my fans, a small percentage of them are going to be really interested into what I have to create and what I have to say, and they'd want to support that. So Patreon is a cool way to let them in on it and let them directly support the art if they want to. And so by doing that, like, basically I set up a system where like it's like a monthly subscription of donation, and it's like, for me, I was like, oh, like $5 a month, we'll keep it where anyone can afford it if they want to support. And with that $5 a month, you get everything that I release personally forever, as long as you're a member. And that is really cool, because that's including a lot of the collaborations that I do. So I play guitar on this guy's track. His name is Wisdom and Sound. He's out of Florida, and he was nice enough to let me release that on Patreon. I have an album coming out where I did probably 90% of the music for by this artist named Shrub out of Columbus, and he's going to be letting me release the whole album to my Patreon subscribers. And I got another couple of collabs in the work that are going to be released, as well as my own singles. So it's a really cool way for these fans who are interested in the weird and the maybe technical in aspects and the unique, to get a whole bunch of cool different music in their inbox that other people may not have or may not have heard before, or maybe will suit a feeling or a mood they have when other stuff might be too general to suit that, as well as the idea that they're helping people create art and express themselves in healthy, positive manner. So it's super cool. But that Patreon thing I launched in December, and it's kind of really lit a fire under me, because like now I have to get this music out, because when I do something, I'm not one of those people who are like looking for a quick buck or a way to make a bunch of money. I'm one of those people that's looking to find a way to do what I love sustainably. And so now that I have that, it's like I have to release this. I have to get this out. I have to be in the studio every day working on my stuff, not just other people's stuff. So it's really cool motivation, and I'm excited to be able to release these. I'm hoping to release them within the next few months, successively.
Hell yeah, man. That's fucking awesome, man. I like that you're taking a step back and you're taking time to like work on your own shit. How did when working on these tracks, when you take longer breaks away from them, what are some of the ways that you kind of like get yourself back into, getting yourself back into the fire or the juice of that song, getting back into the meat of it? Because, when you're working on music, sometimes you have this idea, it's really good, and you pursue it, and then you build out your song, and then you get to a certain point and you may be stuck, or maybe you have to go on tour or work on other shit. And then when you come back to it, it kind of loses its energy that you had, that motivating energy to sort of complete it. How were you sort of getting past those moments? Or did you have those moments? Were you able to just come back to it and get right back into it?
That's a great question, man. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Love that question. So one of the cool things is like the songs that I'm releasing now, the first three are songs, I think one of them I wrote in 2015. And it's just been kind of sitting on the back burner. But one of the things that I would do is like, if I kept coming back to it and I still wanted to release it, I knew that was like, it was worth putting in the time and the effort and doing it. And all three of these songs were songs that I've written in various points over the last, I guess, 5 years now, that I kept coming back to and be like, man, I need to finish this. This needs to happen. And then certain things would inject new life. Like in the beginning of December, I had my drummer Matt from Hirie record drums on all three tracks, like live drums, and that like went like this in the excitement level and the feel. And then I'm having a couple other who shall for now remain nameless guest musicians on these tracks as well. And then sometimes that's a good motivator as well. So a lot of the stuff that I'll write, because I've written way more stuff than the three tunes that were originally supposed to be my own, but some of them I ended up sending to other artists. I'm like, hey man, what do you think of this? And they're like, oh man, I love that. Let me rap over that. Or let's collab on this track or whatever. So I have a bunch more out now that are getting life injected into them because I was stuck at a point having a fresh ear and a fresh take on the tune. And that makes me really excited as well, because then when they are able to send some ideas, then I'm able to bounce stuff back and build things out that way. Even with these three songs, there's one song where there's this whole outro of a song that when I was working with Matt originally, when he was programming the drums before he played them live, we were working on one of the tunes and he was like, oh man, I wrote a tune back in the day that never did anything with, but this one section is basically the epitome of what this song is. And so his section of the song became the outro of my song. Yeah.
That's tight.
So it's like cool. It's because like I can keep coming up with these ideas, and I have this like little digital vault of all of my ideas in various stages. And then like when I meet the right person who might get excited for this beat, or if I take some time off and come back to it and come up with a whole bunch of fresh ideas, like those are great ways to inject new life. And there are a few of them that are just like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's the business. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So they're not all like that, but if you keep doing that, when you come back, you'll know what you want to work on. And as long as you keep putting the ideas out, even if the ideas seem stupid or whatever. I've written so many things just to learn a new technique or to explore a new concept, where the initial one or two songs that I wrote with it are garbage. So
right.
Like, but then by, the third or fourth go around incorporating that technique, it might end up mainstream. So there's like this technique I've been playing with more and more, which is like this 4-finger tapping technique where you're playing the guitar more like a piano. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of obsessed with it over the past year and a half. And it made it, ideas of that made it onto the Hirie record, which I was super surprised.
What song?
So there's a spot in the very end of She Go, in which I'm playing this chorded tapping thing, and it's buried in the mix. It's just a supporting role, and it almost feels like and sounds more like a synthesizer.
I know what you're talking about. I was like, that's a guitar. That has to be a guitar, but it doesn't sound like a guitar, right? Like it doesn't sound like a guitar at all. I think I know what you're talking about.
And then like in the solo of Guam Boy, there's like a really popular effect called like a whammy pedal.
That's what I'm thinking of. It was
and
the
in Guam
whammy
Boy,
pedal.
so what I'm doing is I'm playing like a note, and then I'm throwing my finger on the next note, and then I'm taking my index finger and going up an entire octave and then hitting that note, and then pulling my index finger off so it goes back to this note, and then pulling that finger off so it goes that back. So it's like dun 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 dun, and it's got this whole feel of it. And then there's another track. I Like the Way You Roll. It's under Kyle from Slightly Stupid's verse. There's this whole bunch of disjointed hits. So what I did was I was playing out arpeggios of the chords intertwined with the hits, and those arpeggios in the beginning are all finger tapping arpeggios, where I'm just playing the outline of the chord, then jumping up an octave to the root note. So it's like ba-da-da-da, and then I hit the next note for the next chord, and then da-da-da-da, and then hit the next chord. So it's like these weird like techniques which you're not gonna find in the reggae or even reggae rock tradition, because as far as I know, I'm the only one kind of playing them.
Yeah.
So it's like a nice individual expression, but it's still within the confines of like helping to elevate the song. They're sounds that aren't necessarily sounds to show off, even though they can be complicated. They're not like, oh, I'm soloing, look what I can do. They're more of like, how can I add some interesting textures to this rhythm part,
right?
To make it catch the ear of someone who wants to listen a layer deeper. And the horn players do that, and everybody in the band kind of does that. There's like these surface parts for anyone who just wants to hear the song, focus on the vocals, get the meaning. But then for those people who want to listen deeper, we always try to embed like little extra things. And so it's even some of these crazy things, like a lot of those techniques started with me writing the most ridiculous stuff, which is probably never going to be released, of just doing that over and over and over again in different ways. And actually the first single is kind of one of those, but it was a little farther along the line, where the whole main part is all finger tapping techniques, and there's like a outro part where I'm like tapping and then up like kind of like an octave, but I'm doing like two notes up and then I'm pulling those notes off, and it almost sounds like a harp, like a arpeggio harp type thing, which I'm super happy with how it turned out. But yeah, so like just all these like weird things of me being able to be me but still supporting the song all stem from me writing all this weird stuff that will probably never see the light of day.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, I loved how you answered how do you keep motivated on a track that you got away from is, collaborate. That's a great thing to tell somebody, like people who might be stuck somewhere. Maybe step outside yourself and go collaborate. Send it off. Send it some way. Tell them whatever. I like that your ideas of you're stepping outside of tradition and making your weirdness and your awkwardness sort of like this beautiful thing that stands out and makes this song like beautiful. You know what I mean? How much do you before you go into the studio to record with Hirie, how much are you demoing on your own personal rig, or do you usually experiment and do all that in studio with the band?
It's kind of both. The way that things are tracked generally with Hirie records are they'll get kind of pre-tracked, and then by the time I get the songs, they're kind of fully formed. Like for this last record, there were already a whole bunch of tracks laid for all the songs, and I got them maybe a week before I was supposed to go record. So I would do as much as I could, and I'd collaborate with the producer and hit him up and pick his brain and annoy the shit out of him. And then when I got in there, I would present my ideas, and then he'd have his own ideas, and then other people who were in the session would have their ideas, and we'd just kind of go. And a lot of it, surprisingly enough, is like a lot of the things that make the layers on the record are super simple things. Like, I think I spent the first 2 days on the Hirie record just recording acoustic guitar strumming. And like, I had no idea I was going to be doing that until he's like, hey man, I have all these ideas for like these 3 songs. Would you mind just strumming the acoustic for these? And I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? Or like, I'd be like, I have this idea for the song. And our producer's really cool. And he's always like, yeah, try whatever you want. We'll get a couple takes of it. And then he'd be like, well, now that we tried that, let's try my idea. And then one or the other, or sometimes both, would end up in the song. So it was just kind of this cool collaborative process, and I got Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought you were done, but
No, I was about to ramble again.
No. It's great. It's good rambling, man. It's good rambling. I was just curious. Has there ever been an instance where you really, and I use the word fight, but that's not. I'm not trying to say anything, but have you ever had to feel like you had to fight for a part that you really believed in, that you were like, or are you pretty cool about being like, oh, okay, whatever? I mean, has there been a moment where you're like, no, I really think that this is this is it. This is what I really believe in, what I just did in this.
Yeah, I have definitely had those moments, and it goes back to, I have to really work hard to check my ego at the door, because I have insecurities about my playing, because like I was telling you earlier, like I have had to work for everything that I can play, and I'm not the best player, and there are a lot of people who are just naturally more talented than me. So sometimes, like in my head, my ego wants to overcompensate, like and inflate whatever I'm playing to be better than it is. It's like some sort of weird mental coping mechanism or something to face my own insecurity, having nothing to do with anyone else.
Right.
But when I'm in there, and I have to really work hard to be like, okay, so if this part is getting cut, why is it getting cut? Is it not performed well? Is it just not fit the song? Is there just too much going on, and then somebody wrote a better part? And all those are valid reasons, and I have to like let myself know that it's okay to let someone else's part win. It's not a competition, it's whatever is better for the song. But that being said, sometimes I really feel like something I do adds to a song where upon first listening, other people may not agree. So like the Guam Boy solo for this last record is probably a good instance. There's already horn part going on there. So when I approached the horn players and like, hey, I have this really freaking cool electric guitar solo part that I've been working on, I think it's going to be awesome. They were like, well, we already have a horn part there. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but I really want to try it. You know what I mean? Because I thought it would really fit, because at the time I had the tracks, there were no horn parts. It's just, there's a space there. There's just a space. So I wrote this part, and I talked to the producer about it, and I'm like, hey man, I really want to, and Trish is amazing. She like lets us all like try whatever the hell we want, which is amazing for an artist to be so lenient with her own personal music, to let us like, to trust us to write stuff that'll hopefully improve, the delivery of her already great music. So I'm working with the producer, and I'm like, can we try this part? He's like, of course, man, let's try it. And but he's like, just to warn you, the horn players already have a part here. So I was like, all right, well, let me try it. And so like we recorded the part, and it sounded really good. But then the horn part sounded really good, and the producer was like, "Oh, why don't we just do both?" So because like the gaps of where I'm playing in the solo fit with the way that the horn players are playing that line.
Yeah.
So both parts are in there, and if you're not listening for guitar, you might just think it's another horn break. But if you're in tune to guitar, like that's what you listen to in music, the horns might be the background to that. It all depends on how you want to listen to it, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And it was all because like I thought this part could really elevate the song, and it ended up elevating the song, but then so did the horn part. And so we were both like, oh, we want this part, and it just happened to work together in that instance.
Yeah, no, yeah, man, that's great. That was a great approach too, man. Like where you're just like, well, let's just see. It's great to hear that your guys' dynamic is open enough to where it's like, let's like it's all in service of the music. It's not in service of anyone's ego, and especially the front woman. Trish, she's like to open her vulnerability like that to other people to sort of like give their input. That I think those are the bands that do have that longevity, that sustainability, whereas you have people who are just all like, I don't know, a famous incident is like the Beatles or something. Like the Beatles were all these like geniuses who were like just couldn't bring it together for longevity's sake. But yeah. I think that's a healthier way to be than just like, no, this is my shit, fuck off.
Yeah, I mean that's see, like if everybody, like the Beatles, they were all songwriters, so they were all fighting for their individual voices to be heard as the lead singer or the lead vessel for a song. We're lucky in the fact that, like, Hirie as an artist, she is the vessel. She is the songwriter. She is the deliverer of the message. And our role is to support that. And the cool thing about doing like my solo project and other collaborations and stuff like that is I get a other avenues to flex different muscles, whether it be songwriting or arranging or production or getting fucking weird. I make those avenues for myself, so I'm not. That's one of the things that really helps me check my ego. Sorry, it's getting hot out here.
Hey man, let's take off some clothes, baby. Let's do this.
Getting some views now. No one wants to see this. So like it really helps me as I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket, in the fact that like, oh, I got to get everything that I think I can play well onto this record because I want people to hear what I can do. Whereas like with this project, I get the other avenues of like, if someone really wants to hear what I can do, they could sign up for my Patreon and they can get the whole wide freaking berth of what I'm doing, or they can like, hear different avenues of my songwriting or playing by my collaborations with other artists. Maybe be harder type guitar parts, or maybe even more chillax type guitar parts, or like other genres besides reggae, things like that.
Where can people find your Patreon, by the way?
Oh, patreon.com/Dillinger Music.
There you go. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you can find that in the show notes. You can find a direct link to that. So if you guys, I'll make it easy for you guys. Just go to the show notes and click on the Patreon and go support them. But please,
you're awesome, man.
Oh man, man, I love like you've always been like a very every time I bump into you like backstage or whatever, you've always been like very nice. Like you're a nice person, and we had this weird connection that I always seem to bring up every time we talk about Ohio and hookah and whatever. But you've always been cool, man, and I really appreciate it that you take the time to do this shit, man, because it's good. It's going to be great for your fans to be able to hear this side of you. Like it's all they see is cool Blaine, you know? They gotta, you know, but now they know you're a vulnerable artist, just like everybody else.
Yeah. For anyone who's only seen me on stage, that is, it's not fake.
Yeah.
It's the aspect of me when I'm at my best,
Yeah.
at my most confident, at my most excited. I love what I'm doing up there. I always told myself, if I ever get up there and hate what I'm doing, I'm gonna stop doing it, whether or not the money's good or not, because I love being on that stage. I love connecting with people. I love seeing the excitement in people's face. I love the interaction with the crowd. Like that is me at my best.
Yeah, and also I really dig that you're also you're taking other avenues of expression, because that's where I find myself too. It's like I don't know, like I feel like I get bored with just doing the same, you know, like I feel like I would just be bored just, you know, gigging all the time. Like I feel like I have to do like I have to do video editing. I have to do this podcast. I have to play 12 different instruments. That's not how many instruments I can play, by the way. But you know, like I feel like for my brain, I have to constantly be going and finding needs to be filled, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like I just like it just I have to fill these weird needs, and it's not always gonna, it's not just performing and gigging, although I love that too. But you know, I'm finding so much joy in all these other things that I'm doing. Plus, diversifying your skills is not a bad is not a
Not at
bad
all.
way to to sustain, like you know, sustain monetarily, I should say. But
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like that's so like we live in a society in which we have all these platforms. We have the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the YouTube and everything, and it gives us, I feel like it gives us a one-dimensional view of other people. So this person maybe have this freaking type of view, or another person may differ in the way they view their dietary habits, or this person might be associated with being a guitarist with a mohawk. You know, you have all of these things that people will latch on to one specific aspect of your life, and like then judge everything else that you do based on that aspect that they enjoy about you, rather than seeing you as a complex person. And I feel like what you do, where you're showing these different avenues and aspects of your life on your social media, like I think that's a more real representation. Like, oh, I have an interest in playing these different instruments. Oh, I have an interest in podcasting. Oh, I have an interest in whatever. Like being able to show those different experiences and different aspects of you as a person uh, are really cool. And I wish more people would do that on those platforms. But at the same time, I get it. You know, just like you always want to put your best foot forward. I always practice before I go play a show, because I want to put my best foot forward. I'm not just going to go out there and give you whatever if you're paying for a ticket. So it's kind of this back and forth. It's a weird time to live and to present stuff, but you know, we're all weird people, so it should work out.
Right. Right, exactly, man. No, it's yeah, man, and social media has just been one of those facets for me that I've been finding and having a good time with. You know, it's just fun for me, and I don't know. Sometimes I find myself scrolling, and then I'll just get the biggest wave of disgust, and I'll just be like, ugh, and I'll just like literally throw my phone across, like on the couch, like go away. It's because, you know, you get overloaded with this shit, and it's just I don't think that's healthy either. You know, it's balance. I think the overall theme here of this discussion, I would say, would be finding balance, some sort of you know, we're constantly juggling all these ideas, all these emotions, all these, you know, just all these things we're committed to, and fuck, man, like I don't know. We have to figure out a way to balance and to get through these things so we can I don't know, make the best and be the best. And you know what I like, man? I like that you're, you know, like I'm not the best, but you're like, I'm the best me. And that's what I really appreciate about you, man. Like,
Oh, hell yeah,
and your
man.
honesty of on this podcast is like, you know, because I absolutely agree with you. Is like, well, not agree with you that you're not the best or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I feel the same
No,
way
that's
about
okay.
myself. No, because I think you're a fantastic player. I don't think you know, like you're a fantastic player. But I feel that way about myself as well. Is that I don't feel like I'm the best, but I do feel like that I work hard towards being the best me. And so, like, I think that's a great thing to leave this conversation with is just be the best you. Like, you don't have to be the best motherfucker. You know, you don't have to be the best fucking guitarist. You don't have to be the best basketball player. You don't, but be the best that you can be and be the best of your own abilities. Because God knows there's someone who's way better than you, just waiting to take your spot. So, just be the best you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. That's like my whole life philosophy as of late is like being the best me. How can I improve myself in my personal relationships, with my own mental relationship with myself, with my social relationships, with the relationships of the music I'm putting out? How can I make it as fulfilling as possible for myself and for others? How can I have the best Blaine experience every day?
And with that, Blaine Dillinger, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I truly appreciate. How can people give people your Patreon again? How can people get a hold of you if they want to collaborate? All that good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So I'm really bad at plugging myself, but patreon.com/Dillinger Music is where you can go to get all my stuff for free and video lessons. I also have a website, dillingermusic.com. Pretty easy. That has links to everything. If you go to any social media site, YouTube/Dillinger Music, Instagram/Dillinger Music, Facebook/Dillinger Music, you come to my house and say what's up /Dillinger Music, whatever. You'll probably find it with a /Dillinger Music.
Right, man. Well, I really appreciate it again, Blaine, for taking time, and I also appreciate that you're sitting poolside in Southern California. I'll be out there.
Come visit, bro. Come out.
I'll be out there. I'm gonna do a short run with Skanks Roots Project, so I'll be out there at the end of April. So you'll probably be on the other side of the world, but.
Well, I'm going out with Hirie in May for an East Coast thing.
Oh, nice! You're gonna do you sit in a lot with different bands?
Oh no, we're sorry. Hirie
and Hirie. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And but the end of April, yeah, when you're rolling through, let me know. We should link up. We should jam, hang out, barbecue, something.
I'm down, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. You have a good day.
Yeah, great hanging with you, bro.
Blaine Dillinger, everybody. Go to dillingermusic.com, DILLINGER.com. Go check it out. If you want to know more about Blaine, if you want to contact Blaine, you want to collaborate with Blaine, you want to just reach out and say hi, go to go to dillingermusic.com and get some more Blaine for that ass. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know that the pandemic is still going on. There's a few announcements I want to just shout out before I sign off here. I've been having wonderful conversations with musicians all around the country. It's been wonderful to see the amount of positivity that people are bringing to a shit show, really. I mean, like, we're in the middle of, well, we're not even in the middle. We're at the precipice. We're at the beginning of this fucking horror show of the pandemic. This invisible monsters that are stalking the streets for grandma and grandpa. It's fucking intense, right? I'm sure you guys are feeling the pinch. So it's been wonderful talking to people and getting a positive outlook and a positive, just people. I've been loving to see how much people are coming together even in the safety of their own homes, people are still coming together to create, to spread joy, spread positivity, to spread music, spread art in general. And I don't know, art is always a reflection of the times, and art is always relied upon for the worst of times and for the best of times. So this is our job now, like we have a new job, which has been historically the same job for many, many years, but it is to take people out of their space, their current mindset, and transport them to somewhere other than the fucking global pandemic that they're facing, and their nagging wife who's getting on their last nerve, and the kids who won't stop screaming and running around and making a fucking mess, and the TV's always blaring. Why is every fucking light in this house on? Oh my God, I'm out of beer. Okay, so I know that can be an issue. I know that right now it's not easy, but just remember, you got art. And artists are out there. And so if you're not an artist and you're just listening to this and you're enjoying this and you like Blaine or you like the people I talk to, go out and support them, find them. They're performing online right now. They're doing everything they can to get their music and to spread a positive message. So everybody, just hang in there. I know we're at the beginning of all this bullshit, but we gotta hold it together. We got months ahead of us, and we gotta just keep it together. In the last few podcasts, I've been saying, make sure you get your supplies and don't trust these people, and I still am with that, by the way. I still do believe that you should have at least 3 weeks of supplies, because we rely way too much on foreign supply chains, and anything can happen. And I know they say that the food will keep coming, but you don't know. And here's the other part of that equation. I hope to fucking God that I don't have to use my 3 weeks of rationing. I hope that it doesn't get to that point where I have to go and start eating my ramen noodles and my fucking Campbell's chunky soup. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope that I don't have to eat that shit food because the stores are closed and there's fires in the fucking street. You know what I mean? So, yeah, have the 3 weeks, but it's just in case, right? And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. And so let's hope we don't have to use those reserve supplies. I know they keep saying don't overbuy. I don't know, man. I don't feel like they understand this fully. They have no real answers for us. I know that's all we have, and so we have to go by what we have. But we also need to remember that they are still a government. They are still just human beings who are trying to maintain or even expand their power. So humans in power, we know how this story ends. So we also have to remember that there's other forces in play, and there's a lot of money to be gained by this horrible situation. So just remember, there's tons of money to be gained. There's power to be gained. And so to question what is being told to us is not a bad thing. It's actually probably what you should be doing as a fucking American. So, just keep that in mind. But I do want to get back to the positivity. So we've been sort of refocusing some of the show. I've been sort of dedicating a whole portion of the shows or the conversations to what people are doing to sort of get through this quarantine time. So expect that from here on until this shit's over. I will be talking extensively to a little bitly of the coronavirus and COVID and what this world is experiencing unanimously at the same time, which is so just interesting to think that we all are experiencing the same horror at the same time. It's just like on a world level. It like when your whole perception of reality has just been changed on a global level. Like perception of reality has just been completely altered on a global level. Like that, I don't know what. I don't know what that means. I'm not even sure what that means to me, but I know it's something, and I don't know. It's this mass ritual that's taking place right now, where we're sort of, I don't know, we're battling the demons right now, the invisible grandma and grandpa demons that want to take our grandma and grandpas, not grandma and grandpa demons. Jesus Christ. Okay, this is getting weird. I do want you guys to go and check out me on the Instagrams. That was my really shitty, poorly planned transition into like, subscribe, review. Go and like us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Snapchat. I think it's We.Speak 2020 or something. And then even on TikTok, I think I'm on there. I don't know, but don't even try to reach out to me on that shit. I won't even see it. I only have I only have my Snapchat so I can buy weed. So that's the only reason why I'm on Snapchat, is just so I can communicate with the drug dealer. Which, by the way, he put something on his Snapchat where he's like, I'm not leaving the house for anything less than $170. I was like, there's something to be said about being close to middle age and starting to have that financial security that you work for your whole life, Not that we're financially secure in any means, but like we have more to work with. And when I think about like if I was still like just scumming it in San Diego or just scumming it in general, how $170 would have been impossible. Like, that's an impossible feat. But now it's like, oh, I can see that. I can see spending $170 for a couple weeks of, just I don't know. I don't know what it will give you at least a couple of weeks of some kind of relief, I suppose. It's medication, folks. It's marijuana. We medicate around here. So like, subscribe, review, like us on Instagram, Facebook. My Instagram is full of silly shit. It's full of podcast content, and it's full of tutorials, in which the tutorials is what is the most popular thing on these pages so far. So that's fine. I don't care. I'm just trying to grow that out, and I'm having a blast making these tutorials. It's teaching me so much more about my own playing. It's forcing me to sit down with metronomes. It's forcing me to do things. So I am doing these videos mostly for me, but the cool thing is that the outcome of me getting better at my job is that I get to help you guys get better at your job, and it also helps grow the brand. So it's working out really well. So if you like those tutorials, if you like learning just quick to easy to moderate licks, it ranges from jazz, blues, country. I'm going to be working with some boogie woogie type stuffs coming up here. So lots in store. So go follow on Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube. And in fact, I would suggest going and subscribing on YouTube, because you can scrub through the videos. And these videos aren't very long. These are like 30-second videos where I show you a lick, and then I slow it down, and that's it. Some of the guitar tutorials have tabs. And the piano, and so it's mostly guitar and piano, because that's what I mostly play. I was doing some bass stuff, but when you don't play an instrument for so long, you have to like really sit there and get back into the motion of it, so you can actually pull off some of these licks or these runs. And I play guitar and piano so often that I'm already warm. I'm already in it. I'm already in those modes. So it's a little bit harder to switch and spend a couple of days trying to get back into the bass and still try to maintain a schedule. I suppose now that my schedule is pretty fucking open due to the global pandemic, I'm guessing that I have plenty of time to do that. But I'm also lazy. Yeah, so I really have to be into something for me to pursue it. If I'm like even a little bit not into it, it takes so much for me to do it. So, it just takes just so much effort to just get me to get to that place where I'm actually working on it, the thing that I'm not that interested in. Like recording, for instance. I'm not really that interested in recording with other people per se. I love recording by myself or with one other person. That's my shit. But like when it's in a group setting in a big fancy studio, I don't like that. I'm not comfortable there. But also when people want me to lay down tracks over their songs, like for whatever reason, my brain goes, I don't want to do this. But I know it's an important part for me to do is to record and collaborate. So I've been collaborating. I'm every day the number grows. 5 different projects currently I'm working. No matter what, it just seems like I'm always going to be pulled in 50 different directions. And that's fine. So you liked us on Instagram. You liked us on Facebook at We Speak English Good. You liked us on YouTube. Now it's time to subscribe. Go subscribe to us on Apple iTunes. YouTube. Okay, I know subscribe is kind of the same thing. But you know what? There are different terms for different platforms. So you can subscribe to us on iTunes, on Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast. Please do subscribe to our RSS feed so you can get the latest episodes as they are dropped. Then please, if you enjoy this show, if you've gone through the first 2 steps already and you're at step 3, which is like, subscribe, review, please review us on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast or anywhere you get your content, your podcast content, please leave a review. It helps us. If you get anything from us, and I don't ask for any kind of money other than to support our lovely sponsor. I was going to say sponsors, but we only have one. Support them. But I don't need your money. I don't want your money. I do need your money, but I'm not going to take your money. Everybody needs your money. The government definitely needs your money. But yeah, I don't ask for anything other than this. Please subscribe, review. If you like this podcast, if you get anything from this podcast that you think is useful and you think is worth it, please go through the pain in the ass effort to leave a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. I know that iTunes is a pain in the ass. In fact, it's stupid for me not to put a link to the iTunes, a direct link to the iTunes. But even then, you got sign in, and then you got to they make it so hard. So if you reach out to us and leave comments on episodes, maybe on Facebook or Instagram, or if you instant message me, you email me at wespeakenglishgood@gmail.com. I'll read them on the shows, unless you tell me not to. I can't read them all, but I will read the ones that I get. And it's not like a first come, first serve type thing. I am literally going through the ones I want to read. So it's nothing personal. It's just if you have a nice writing prose, I'm going to just a tip. If you have good prose, I'm going to read that shit on air. But if you're just sitting there being like, I hate you, and you are an asshole, and I hope your son gets lupus, and your wife gets herpes. If you start doing that weird shit talking, to the extreme thing that the internet is so famous for, I won't read those. I'll take my hurt feelings and go elsewhere with it. Or actually, I'll just delete it because it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. So, yeah, write the show if you'd like. Check out wespeakenglishgood.com. That is being kind of, on this downtime, we're going to be I don't think we're going to deconstruct the whole website, but we're going to definitely be adding pages. So, on the website, you're going to be able to find videos I've done in the past. You're going to be able to find tutorials. You'll find we're going to get an advertisers page. I don't know if that's what it's called. If you guys know what that's called, by the way, I'm looking for sponsorship right now, for more sponsorship, and I'm putting together my sponsor page. I don't know what that's called. So if anybody knows what that actually is called, like an advertiser splash page, it has your metrics on it, and it has, I don't know what that's called. So if you know what it's called, please tell me. And if you have any tips on how to make it look cool and make it nice, that's very nice too. Also, I don't know, like last week or something, I got an email saying that, I don't know if I've talked about this yet or not. I probably did. So if I did, then this is like the last thing I'm going to be talking about, so you can just end it here if you want. But somebody emailed me, and it was definitely like one of those spammer emails where people are trying to sell you like marketing or something. When you have your own podcast or blog or anything, people, if you hashtag or if you post it in any places like Reddit or something, people send out these scraper bots who scrape that data, and they are able to put together all these emails en masse and send out these emails from all this scraped data, and that's basically what this is. And but they said that I was ranked number 82 in the music category in the world. So I start looking shit up, and I wasn't 82nd, but I happened to be. I guess I was at one point, but I was like 120 something, and it was above Dave Pensado's and Justin Bieber. So, like all this thing, all these rankings and stuff, like. So it made me start thinking, like, how does this all work? Because I've always maintained the fact that I don't know what these numbers mean. And the more that I research it, the more that I find that these numbers really don't mean shit. There's no real accurate way to measure how many people are downloading or listening to your podcast. Also, there's no way of knowing how many people really listen to the whole podcast. When they take sample, like Apple has this like metrics thing, which is really useful, by the way. But even that is on a small collection of data that they take. So out of like 200 people, here's the stats. So there's no accurate way of sort of measuring this shit. And so how do you have an accurate way of putting together an advertising package and being like, here, fucking give me money? It just seems so weird to me. So, I don't know. I don't know where that was going, but we're looking for advertisers, and we're looking to expand the name. It looks like we're doing pretty decently on the world market, comparatively, I guess, to other podcasts, which I don't really like comparing myself to other podcasts. I'm trying to break that habit of comparing myself to other things, but when you're in competition, or I don't even see people as a competition. I mean, like, there's several music podcasts in town here that they're no competition to me. In fact, I'm a fan of one of them, and it's a totally different show. So I'm not in this competitive mode, but once you start seeing rankings and you see the possibility of money, you do start comparing and being like, how are they doing that and I'm not? Like, how are they getting money and I'm just sitting here paying for this shit? I know we got our sponsor, but he's not. That sponsor don't cover all the costs here. You know what I mean? So I'm looking to cover some more costs here, and I'm not even really looking to profit off this. I'm honestly just looking to make it so that this show is a self-contained, well-oiled. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Just something that the show's always meant to be malleable. It's always meant to go with me wherever I go. This pandemic doesn't change anything for the show. I do it over the phone. I do it over Skype all the time. So this is not a big change. It's not anything crazy. The only thing I'm trying to do is expand, get more people on board, and try to make a little money so this thing is self-sufficient. Because as we stand now, I'm still paying for this fucking thing. But I love this. I love this show so much. And I've been really weary about getting advertisement because I don't want people to think that this is fucking... I've never did this for money. This is never the goal for this show. So we've been doing it. We're up to 230 some episodes now. We're ranking on a global scale. We're doing better than some, right? We're getting right. I mean, we're doing better than some podcasts out there with there are 3 listeners, or whatever the situation is. I don't know. I don't know what the secret is, and I don't even know if people are actually listening. I know that there's plays, but I get emails, but it's not a whole lot. So there's not a lot of interaction, and I feel like that's partly because of what the audience I attract are probably people like me who are weird about reaching out and who are weird about communicating and we're awkward and shit. So I tend to think that people like me probably listen to this show because I resonate with them. Otherwise, I couldn't imagine why you'd want to sit around and listen to me talk like this for hours on end. So, and there I go laughing at my own stupid fucking jokes. That's mostly like a insecurity thing, I think. It is laughing at everything I say because I don't know what's next, or I don't know what it is. But we're not gonna deconstruct this shit right here, right now. In any case, we're trying to expand the name, expand on everything, build it up, and turn it into something that is bigger than myself. And I already feel like that's what it is, and I feel like we're on the right path for that. And so thank you to everybody who tunes in. Thank you to all the musicians who are stepping away from their families for an hour or two to talk to me in this global crisis. So man, I'm just so grateful for the conversations I've been having. I'm so grateful for people tuning in and liking what they're hearing. I'm just so grateful for everything that's going on, and I hope that everybody is holding on, making the best of their time, and just be safe, folks. Remember, be good to your fellow human beings. HJ's for everybody. We got Christy Rose from TopShelfMusic.com coming on next Wednesday. I love Christy. She is a photographer, journalist, a photojournalist. She is the chief editor of Top Shelf Music. They're a digital news magazine, and they're pretty awesome, man. They have all kinds of awesome articles out there. She interviews Julian Marley. I'm sorry, Christy, I can't remember everything you do. I'm sure she's not listening to this. I'm sure really no one's gotten this far. So if you have gotten this far, hey, good for you. So she has been deeply embedded in the Cal roots reggae scene, the California reggae roots scene, for the last 10 years. She's just been heavily embedded in it. She's been she's taken pictures. She travels constantly. She has a lot to say. She's just a fantastic human being. And she's another person who I would see backstage at these festivals that we were working at, and she's just always a light of joy. And in fact, is Blaine Dillinger's girlfriend. But that is not what defines her, but that is a part of her story. So Christy is coming up. We got Guy. So I'm going to be doing something on Friday. Guy Forsyth, who is a legend in the Austin, Texas music scene, the blues scene especially. It's such a fascinating character. Loved having this conversation with him. So that's going to come out on Friday, because that is going to be another bonus episode. So I'm going to do this one last bonus episode, and then we're going to go back to the every week. I only want to do these bonus episodes because a lot of the content that I'm talking about pertains to current events. So I wanted to make it as current as possible, but also stay on our release cycles. So I am going to be, so this Friday will be another release with Guy Forsyth. Fucking amazing conversation with Guy. Man, just such a good dude, such a cool dude with great ideas and just smart as shit. So be on the lookout for Guy Forsyth coming up in the future. So on Friday which is 2 days from now, so 27th. So right now it's March 25th, and this will be out on Friday. Guy will be out on the 27th. So, again, I'm just going to do it one more time. Be good to your fellow human beings. HJ's for everybody. I'll see you guys next week with Christy Rose.